So I'm Louise Borthwick of Empowered Relationships, and I'm here with Richard Hollington, who's just completed stage 1 and stage 2 of the empowerment program. And I just thought it would be a really, really good idea for Richard and I to have a chat so that you can see how the empowerment program process works. So, hi Richard, it's good to see you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Yeah.
Can you tell me, first of all, what led you to want to join the empowerment program in the first place? What was going on for you?
Okay, so I was at a very, very low ebb actually. I'd had a few sessions of counselling to help me with kind of some of my overwhelming emotions, anxiety, and actually a real feeling of lack of identity was really weighing me down at that time.
Yeah.
And it was one morning and I was having a meltdown in the bath, actually, like a panic attack meltdown. And some of my stuff was around a deep-rooted kind of adoption rejection thing going on. And I found you through kind of Googling that subject.
Okay. So what had you already done so far? I know you just mentioned counselling. So what else had you done?
So previous to that counselling, probably about 5 years ago, I started another course, which is kind of a self-meditative inner healing course, which was great, which actually kind of put me on the road to kind of get into to get into where I am now. That course was great because it kind of really helped me to accept a lot of stuff about myself and others. So that I think that was like a really good kind of starting block for me, that I already had that kind of self-acceptance about some of my own cracks and some of the own things in me, which we all struggle to look at, those things we don't want to accept about ourselves and look at
exactly.
So I'd already done kind of some of that acceptance stuff.
Yeah, and raised your self-awareness and became more self-reflective, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So how do you think that helped with joining the empowerment program then?
I suppose after the second session proper, I kind of got stuff quickly, kind of what the course was aiming at for me, especially within the homeworks. So that was invaluable, really, actually, that I'd already done that kind of.
Yeah, so it helped to speed up the process, really, because you'd already raised your self-awareness and self-reflection. Okay, so what was the join-in process for people that don't understand, how I go about people joining me? What was it like, the free express yourself call? So what did you get out of that free 30 minutes?
Great. So that first free phone call that we had, it was just great. I was really, that morning, I was phoning late for work. I'd had a full-on panic attack that morning. I think it was the following day, or even later that day, you phoned me up. I felt immediately reassured and supported straight away after that first call from you. And I immediately clicked with you as well. This isn't going to be like counselling, which my frustration with counselling was it was just storytelling. That was great, that I kind of clicked that straight away. Yeah, this is not about going over everything now. This is about what's going on now and working through. And I immediately felt that from you. And your reassurance that you gave me that, you understood and that you could help, you would help me, you will help me,
Yeah.
And also you gave me the why to what tool there immediately. And so I immediately kind of used that within my head and, in work and things like that. So, and that worked. The first phone call to our first session, just kind of using that why to what tool and feeling reassured from you, I just knew that this was going to be different and really good.
So stage 1 is the first 6 weeks. So how would you describe the sessions? What was it? You'd mentioned the homework sheets, you've mentioned. So what was the structure like?
So awesome. So the sessions themselves were so supportive, and we always have that kind of check-in and check-out at the beginning of the session. It was so important because we was always able to establish what was going on for me at that moment. What's going on for you this week and what's going on for me right now. Then I always felt that the session was kind of still keeping with your empowerment course syllabus, but yet it always felt tailored to what was going on. When the homework came through the following day, and it always comes through the following day, it always kind of felt really nice and personal, because the homework is taken. You would always really nicely summarise our check-ins, our sessions, what was discussed in the session. That was really important to me, actually, in the homeworks, and going back and reviewing the homeworks, which I still do now. Yeah, that was really, really important. The sessions themselves were great, always relevant, and that tailoring was awesome. We'd always have a laugh, which is great as well. And it's that, because when you're in those horrible places, you know, depression, anxiety, you know you need to laugh at life.
That actually, it doesn't have to be heavy, it doesn't have to be difficult, quite simple really, this process. And actually that's one of people's fears, is that it's going to be complex and deep rooted, and they're going to have to trawl over all of their old stuff, and they're going to go through a whole load of turmoil. What did you find it to be like?
No, not like that at all. You know, so into some of those darker places, but no, not at all. It was great. And actually, when things were broken down, like especially things like kind of the mind chatter and things like that, when we break that down and we look at the roots of that, where it's coming from, why it's coming up, yeah, it is. And when you start laughing at it with that understanding, it suddenly, it's almost as if that mind chatter has been waiting for that.
You were so committed to the course, which I know was so beneficial to you. So I want you to talk a little bit about what was going on for you in terms of, I'm going to commit to this, and how did you do that, and what was, you know, your routine. You actually really took responsibility for your own progress, which is what this is about. You want to do it and you commit to it like you did, you will do that in 12 weeks.
I wanted things to change. I think from my first sessions, really, from how I felt about you as a practitioner and that first lot of homework, I think a natural commitment formed within me. I mean, it's important to, like, at the beginning of this, the check-in sessions, when you say what's coming up for you, to be honest about it. You know, there's nothing to be frightened of at all. And actually, you know, the more honest you are, the better and more progress you'll make. From after that first session, that first homework, kind of really realizing how powerful this stuff was for me, and how it was working, kind of fueled my commitment to it more. So with the homework, I would make time at the end of each day to at least do the journal part. I use that as a journal.
When did you first notice that things were improving then?
First session. I mean, after our first phone call, I felt supported.
You know how I love a good light bulb moment, a good aha moment.
Yeah.
What were your top 3 light bulb moments then?
3 of the light bulb moments, you sent me your ebook, How to Fly Your Plane. That was a light bulb moment, reading that ebook, and I've read it several times since. That was just great. So yeah, that was fantastic. That was a real light bulb moment.
So it's getting rid of that mind chatter and sorting out those limiting beliefs.
So yeah, reading that book, what spurred the emotion in me was having it. I immediately found a compassion for how far I'd come already, actually, on my own. Inevitably it was going to be crashing. So, yeah. Another light bulb moment was learning this deep compassion and forgiveness for myself and for others through working on the mind chatter and things like that. Early sessions, I think the second, maybe third, fourth session, we really worked on that kind of compassion stuff, and how you kind of seep that into the sessions, I thought was really good. So that compassion and self-forgiveness for myself and others was massive, really good. And then the tree, of course, at the end of the first half was a huge light bulb moment. I remember at the end of that session, you saying to me, right, look for mind chatter now. And I'm thinking they're still going to be there. I didn't believe at the end of that first session, like, you know, that change was concreted in me. But yeah, it was. Yeah, that was a real light bulb.
So yeah, how important was it for you to go on and complete the next 6 weeks? What did you feel you needed? What did you feel was coming up for you?
I remember the session after that, the tree session and me saying, yeah, I look for the mind chatter. It's changed. It's gone. It's not coming up with a maelstrom of emotion that it used to come up with. But there was no kind of question for me. I don't think I even realised we were at mid-term. I remember you telling me, we're halfway now.
Okay, so how did you know that the changes that you'd made, how did you know it was an automatic thing rather than a trying and managing thing?
Where previously I'd feel to chip in, I need to have my 2 pence worth, need to have my bit of control over this. That change was concreted in me. But there was no kind of question for me. I remember you telling me, we're halfway now.
What about when you made changes and it was after the event, you thought, oh, I've dealt with that differently. I didn't even think about it.
Yes. So again, like conversations at work. Previously, I might have told like a load of story stuff. I go in and I tell them all sorts, and all kind of any of my anxieties about the kids. Whereas now I was finding myself, fine, everything's good. And then realizing at that moment in time that person then maybe would start digging for a bit more what they're used to getting off me, not getting it again. And then afterwards thinking, I've totally dealt with that in a different way. It feels empowering. And I think the beginning of the next kind of term of sessions, the next 6 weeks of sessions, really help with kind of grounding that empowerment within me.
Yeah. Well, if you've done something the same for 30 years, it takes a minute for that transitional change to take place.
Those early sessions on the second half of the course were invaluable for that, really, to establish that grounding in me, and that things are still going to come up in life.
And reinforce those changes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Have that homework down, like what are you noticing different, how people's reactions different to you, to still keep noticing that.
Okay, so let's go on to after the event, because I know you've been doing all sorts of things. So what have you noticed since completing the empowerment program?
So, from my relationship with myself to start is so much better, so much more healthier, so much more positive. The way I look at myself more lovingly and with more compassion now, and self-forgiveness. The toxic guilt is massive for me. I know it came up on a few of our sessions, that it was a big one for me. I'm just not feeling it. I just don't feel it now.
That's so good.
I know in life we all make mistakes, and that's okay. Actually, I'm a grounded and self-reflective person who has the ability to apologise and accept my own stuff. There's nothing to feel guilty about ever. So that's fantastic. My relationship with my children, as we touched on, it has been great. It's just improved. I don't have that again, and its roots in some of the guilt stuff, that kind of anxiety about how they're doing, am I good enough father, and all that rubbish. It's gone.
You're a great father.
And even though I tell myself in the past that, people would tell me that when I was at those low ends, I still could never accept it. There would still be that level of toxic guilt, but that's gone, and that is huge.
Excellent.
Also, my confidence in myself. I love my crafts. I do kind of weaving and woodcraft, which I've always kind of wanted to be a bit more than just a hobby. I would love it to be my income, and I think we really touched on that, and some of our sessions were really focused around that. That has been amazing. The confidence I now have in my own work, not comparing myself to other people, actually having real pride in my own talents, my own creations, and knowing that I can do what I want to do successfully.
We did a bit of work, didn't we, about business and going forward in a practical sense, more like, career coaching, where we looked at what your choices are.
Yeah, and that's been amazing. That has been so helpful for me to have that bit of kind of business support as well from you, kind of like a bonus at the end of the course, really.
So what did you do last weekend?
So the other weekend, I got a last minute call from a family member that was doing a wood festival down where I'm from in Cambridgeshire, inviting me along to kind of help him out and bring a couple of my bits to show. And it went from that to me having a full pitch and doing my workshop, putting myself out there, saying, well, I'll go for it, do it. And initially, the kind of that saboteur, you know, kind of rose up and was like, you know, you're not ready for this. But that immediately was quelled. Immediately with the work that I've done with you, I just knew I could do it. I can do this. It's going to be great. It's going to be successful.
And it was successful, and you smashed it.
It was, yeah, we absolutely smashed it. So it was awesome.
What would you say to anyone else who is thinking about starting the empowerment program, is a bit unsure? What would you say?
Go for it, that you will be held. You can be open and accepting of yourself and put in the commitment and the work, do the homework and be committed to this thing. It will change your life for the better, forever, you know, absolutely. And as long as you've got that commitment with yourself and to be accepting of your own stuff, which you know is hard, it will change your life.
We're aiming for that authenticity and that reconnection with self. That's all. That's where we're going, right? Because we can't stop life happening around us, can we?
No, we can't. I was really feeling a lack of identity, really was. And that was kind of really, that was one of the big fuels for my anxiety and stuff. And I really feel like now I have a grasp on me, on Richard and my identity. And I like it. I love it. I love him. And that's growing, you know. I feel quite emotional saying that because that was massive for me to have that sense of self in me.
Well, thank you, Richard. And I'm sure I'll chat to you really soon.